technology, we're also getting better and better in just being able to do beautiful things, and experience wonderful circumstances in our lives. So I'd like to thank everyone for being here. As was mentioned earlier, this is not a particularly easy circumstance. During the tech run, now we were having a chat, and even a couple of days before, and it's important to take note of the fact that times are hard. Um, if you feel distress, if you feel grief, if you feel much more anger than usual, much more sadness than usual, chances are that is an accurate and very normal, no, response to what are truly horrifying circumstances. No? So part of the session today is to just give people the opportunity to kind of just sit back, right? Because at the end of the day, each of us is a human being. Each of us has a life to live. Each of us has a life that is contributing to other lives. And each of us has a life that is eventually going to end. No, I mean, not to sound morbid, but it's important to really take note of the not just the beauty of life, but also its limitations, our own limitations in terms of mortality, but also our own limitations in terms of what exactly we're capable of doing, what exactly we're capable of offering, right? Um, and I guess I start with that because, coming from an activist background as well, and working with so many human rights advocates of many different stripes and colors. Not all colors, though, no, because I have boundaries and standards. But it's important for a lot of us who feel so compelled to do good, that the good that we can do only goes so far, right? And a lot of us tend to feel feelings of, lack of self-worth, we're not doing enough, we're not fighting hard enough, and all of that stuff. And that can take a toll, right? I mean, regardless of whether that might actually be true, regardless of the objective facts of the matter, it does take a toll, no? And what's important for me as a psychologist is that people always have something to fall back on, always have something to go back to. And what we often go back to is the heart. And that's what we're going to try to do today. No? So just a very, very quick, very, very quick getting to know people. Just feel free to chat. I mean, I'd like to get to know where you're at this moment in time, right? We're in different time zones. So, feel free to use the emojis to just tell us how you feel, no? Me personally, I'm kind of feeling like a bagel. I'm gonna try to look now for an emoji or maybe just coffee, no? I'm feeling very coffee right now. I'm a little bit at ease. Now I'm quite excited, but more or less things are in a calm space now. So yeah, just kind of think about it for a moment and just share on the chat box how we're feeling. No? Feeling like strong. Hello, Ging. Oh my God, hello, Ging. Sorry, Ging is a friend from way, 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 way back. No, so it's been a long time. Hello, Ging. Yeah, I can also see multiple feelings as well. So feel free to use multiple emojis. All right. As a colleague of mine would always say, especially since he lost his partner, but he's also reminiscing about the good times. You can feel happy, sad, right? So you can feel more than two emotions at once, and that's what's beautiful about life. One of us is feeling like a rainy cloud, no? That's also fine. One of us is feeling quite cheery, no? Another one is like, you know, gritting your teeth, getting ready. One of us is getting ready for bed or is still probably in bed, no? While we're doing that. And one of them feels like a sad cat and perhaps even a bit alienated, no? An alienated cat. And I feel like that is a an unfortunate but also an important insight that we're going to try to delve into, no? The feeling of alienation as well. So why do I say that? So the question of why am I here? Now, why are we doing this? Is a good starting point, and a couple of considerations as well, no? Just so we can become more aware of just the real circumstances. Because a lot of us, of course, in our daily work, our daily goings-ons in life, we tend to have unnecessarily narrow view of life now because you want to get things done. You've got routines and all of that. So to give you a sense of what's going on, um, there are at least four things we have to consider. Number one, as I mentioned earlier, we live in a world that consistently fails to live up to its own expectations, right? Consistently and horrifyingly fails to live up to the ideals and the values that we espouse. No? And for many of us now, for those of us engaged in activism, human rights, and all of that, where we have a high level of conscientiousness in terms of personality traits, a high level of conscientiousness, high level of altruism, and also a high level of moral sensitivity, right? This can be awful. I mean, more awful than the normal person, right? So we live in that world that fails us constantly. We're also trying to do the best we can for ourselves and for others. As mentioned earlier, we all live within the bounds of our own capacities and limitations, no? And we're essentially trying to do the best we can, the best we know, and the best we feel. Um, and honestly speaking, there's really not much more we can ask for, right? We can learn to do better, but for the most part, it's okay to just kind of sit back and say, you know what, I'm doing my best, at least for now, right? And we're trying to do our best for ourselves and for other people. And that's a kind of a big deal, right? It's a it's a big plate to have on your table, much bigger than most people, no? Um, and as I mentioned again earlier, as some of you have probably already aware of, no, like not just the constant wars, but the most recent one, no, what's going on in Palestine, Israel, and what's going on in many other places in your own countries, even, no. For those of us in the Philippines, we are still reeling from election fraud, and I'm going to say that outright because, frankly speaking, it is. So we're constantly exposed, no, to new horrors, not just witnessing, right? I'm gonna differentiate that in a bit, but just exposed to both man-made and natural horrors, no? And again, that takes a toll. And finally, we all want to leave a lasting impact on the world, no? So we have a sense of purpose. We know why we're here, more or less. We know that we want to be able to do something good with what little we can provide, right? And that's not an easy task as well. And if anyone makes it seem like we ought to do more, or ought to do better, quote unquote, no? And expects us to do better, and acts like it's so easy, chances are they don't really have a realistic sense of what this kind of activity entails, no? What you volunteer for, what you work for, what you live your life for, right? You're not just doing work, you are exchanging your energy, your life force for something that you feel is of immense importance, perhaps even to a certain extent more important than you as an individual, no? And that's perfectly fine, but that's, again, it's not easy. All of those things um, all ask us the big question of why we're here, right? And it's important to always ask ourselves rather this question, because whether we like it or not, no, there is inherent meaning and value in life. No? We don't just necessarily, I mean, of course, we do make it, not like the nuts and bolts of things, the finer details, our life purpose, we make as we go along, right? As we experience new things, as we understand more about who we truly are, we build up the details from there. But the fundamental reality is there is a purpose, right? And we feel that intuitively. There is truly a purpose. Otherwise, what the hell is the point of doing any of this, no? So just a quick pat on the back, quick reminder to everyone here to put you at ease. There is purpose now, and I am almost compelled not just to remind but to command you to to know and believe that you're here for a reason. That's not nonsense. I'm not just telling you that to feel better. I'm telling you that because it's true. I need you to understand that there is providence. No? However you might think about it, no? There is meaning to why you're here. It's really just a matter of understanding and embracing the finer details. No? And why is that important? Because your sense of purpose, your sense of who you are and why you're even alive in the first place. No, we call that authenticity. We call that meaning of life. Whatever you want to call it. I personally like to call it soul, but use whatever language you'd like. And all of that does four things. It anchors our response to reality, no? Good and bad, no? Because reality often leads us to different places. But part of what the meaning and purpose of life does is that it provides us an anchor. So we're not really swept away. No, we are able to direct ourselves in accordance with what reality throws at us. and we're not necessarily thrown this way or pulled that way, which is often tends to happen as well, with all of the busyness of life. We're just kind of pulled this way and that, and not always necessarily moving in the direction that we feel like we ought to be moving in, right? It also provides us the boundaries of what we can and cannot expect ourselves to do and what others to do. Because that's also part of the issue, no? We do tend to have as human beings, no, of different circumstances, porous boundaries. We're not always exactly clear on what we ought to allow and what we ought not to allow into our lives, no? What kind of feelings, what kind of emotions, what kind of experiences, not just for ourselves, but also what we allow to offer to others, no? So that sense of purpose gives us a sense of those boundaries, no? Like if you have this so and so purpose, then this might be expected of you. This might not be expected of you, right? Um, for those of you of a more Abrahamic leaning, no, an Abrahamic faith-based background, um, that's part of the reason why we have things like the Ten Commandments and all of that, no, because they are boundary setting, no? Because the fundamental assumption is that we are here to do good. We're here to provide good to the world, no? And certain things just aren't allowable in that context, no? Like if you want to do good, there are just some things that you're expected to not do, right? Or expected to do. But what exactly are your boundaries? That's a good question to ask. It allows you also to have a rallying point because it's not always fight, fight, fight. All right, let's let's try to disabuse ourselves um of that assumption. A very normal assumption to have, but it is a assumption that will lead you nowhere but disaster. Because in our struggles, whatever they might be, rest and recovery play a crucial role. All right, they're not just there, oh, I need to take a break, things are too hard, yada, yada. This is not a bonus, all right? This is not something that you can do on your free time. This is something that you have to do as a human being, you have to rest, you have to recover, you have to find renewal in your experiences, good and bad, no? Because you're not just resting because you're exhausted. You're also allowing yourself time to renew yourself, no, based on new experiences, intense possibly, good and bad, no, because you can't just continue moving forward without first taking stock of where you're at and integrating what's been going on so far. Again, that is a recipe for disaster. You just keep moving and moving, no? It's like the blind leading the blind. So your purpose also gives you that rallying point. Parang gives you a sense of, sorry, gives you a framework for how to understand why experiences happen, why this good and bad thing happen, and how you can eventually rest and recover and renew yourself in a certain way. And finally, the question of why am I here, which is our framework, right? That is the foundation. It's really all there is. I want to say, as a psychologist, no, and as someone who's been doing this sort of thing for almost a decade. I mean, I'm not that old, no, but I feel like I'm old enough to kind of get a sense of, yeah, this is pretty much it. Because everything that we do, no, mga wellness strategies, the how to be better to yourself, self care, community care, all of that is rooted in our sense of purpose. I love what you're writing here as well. I'm just now checking the chat box now. Rest is revolutionary. Rest is resistance. No? The idea that you have to keep moving, I mean, again, activist background. The idea that you have to keep moving is a vicious lie, caught up, drummed up by the opposite side, quote unquote. No, assuming there is an opposite side. I tend to believe there's more nuance in that, but sometimes it's just good and evil, right? There are occasions where that is in fact the case, no. And one of the greatest lies, no, that the people who stand in opposition to goodness, no, to the good ideals, is that you always have to keep moving, no, because we're not going to rest. Oh, no, no. They're all resting, right? They're in fact very well rested. That's one of the benefits of institutionalized capitalism, right? Because the people with more and more resources, they have more and more capacity for rest. The our main struggle, one of our main struggles, no, in activism, whatnot, is the fact that there's so little room for rest and recovery now. So keep that in mind, no. Rest is revolutionary. But in any case, no, so I've talked a little bit about all of that. So, kind of like priming you for the importance of this question. So now I want to be able to point to you to why exactly this exercise in particular. Okay, so there are many ways of finding purpose. There are many ways of exercising um, that awareness of our sense of purpose. Many, many ways. No? But I'm going to offer you just one very, very simple and straightforward way of doing it. And we call this the wisdom of the heart. So this is not my thing, right? Um, this particular phrasing is about 2 decades old, at least in the psychological literature, and at least 4,000 years old. Though, if you assume other much older and much more ancient traditions, this is a very very old idea, right? It's now just catching up in our profession. But for all of you, I feel like you already have that intuitive sense of, there is wisdom in what's going on here, at least in this particular part of the body, right? Other cultures say it's in the liver, other cultures say it's in the thyroid or the spleen or the brain, no? But a lot of us feel like, yeah, somewhere here, no? Somewhere in this space, somewhere to the right of our chest. Other people, it's to the left, right? So most of it's to the right of our chest. So why do we want to exercise this particular practice, right? So the first thing is because we want to be able to show that we have a not just trust, no, not just abstract trust, but concrete trust in the natural wisdom of our body, wounded as it may be. All right. I'm not saying that everything that comes out of your body, every reaction, every response is going to be perfect. It's not going to be. Okay. And it's not supposed to. But there is an there is an implicit wisdom, right? That is always there, no matter how wounded you might be. No, the language and the what do you call that? Yeah, the signals that the body might be providing might not always come off to us as clear, no, because that is our woundedness. No, woundedness gives us a lack of clarity. That's one of the gifts of being wounded, of being traumatized. Less clarity, no. But the body does have a signal, no, that's always trying to tell us. The body keeps the score, as one very popular book puts it. So this exercise is meant for us to exercise that trust that our body has wisdom, that we can actually, rely on it, at least to a certain extent. No? It's also about bringing special attention to you. No? I'm saying to yourself, right? And take note of what I'm going to say here. Yourself is not your expectations. It's not your skill sets. I'm not talking about your work, what you bring to the table. I'm not talking about your career path. I'm not even talking about your personality even. Huh? Not even talking about those things, right? Those are all supplements. Those are all tools that yourself uses in order to get through life, to understand life, and to live life in a way that it ought to be lived. But none of that is you, right? So what this activity does, it's bringing special attention to you, not your personality, not your desires, not your wants, not your particular pet peeves. It's to you as a person, no, who has value. No? So the way I put it in one conversation is, I'm not talking about what you bring to the table. I'm talking about you. Like you're the person at the table and you're taking up space that only you can take up, right? That chair is meant for you and you alone. So that's you. Okay. And finally, it's giving us a sense of, yeah, purpose as well, no? Rooting us back. Because yes, reality can move us this way and that. But at the end of the day, when you have purpose, and that purpose itself, no, it can be buttressed, it can be buffeted by winds and all of that. No? It can even be wounded as well. No? Our purposes can also be wounded, but it can't be moved. It can't be shaken. It can't be uprooted unless we ourselves wanted it to be uprooted. That's there forever. So that's a solid spot to be in. No? Like everything else can fall away, everything else can melt away, everything else can go into hell. But your purpose, your sense of why you're here, why you're living the life you're meant to live, that can't change. That can't be moved. And finally, because this is an exercise of sitting back, taking stock of where you are, how you're feeling, taking a deep breath. I think a lot of us forget to breathe. And just listening, tuning in to just you. That's a practice of our commitment to rest, no? Like, as the chat mentioned earlier, rest is resistance, rest is evolutionary. Okay, let's prove it. Okay. This is one of the ways in which we can prove our commitment. to our particular revolutionary and activist ideals. That rest is one of the core features of what we want to be able to achieve. So that's a lot to take in, right? It's just kind of like drawing you into how important it is to listen to our hearts. So now we're going to make time to do exactly that. So I have now the instructions here on board. No? So I'm going to give you guys like a quick couple of seconds to just kind of look at the 7 points, just so you're aware of what we're going to do. And I'm going to give you guys maybe maybe 30 seconds, no, to kind of just breeze through that. Just have a sense of what's going to go on, and then I will guide you through it. No? This will take roughly 5 to 8 minutes. It really does depend. No? And if you notice number 7, it says ask your heart, and then there's like a bold title there, bold text. You can basically ask your heart anything, right? But for the purposes of this session, we're going to ask our heart a specific question, which is, what am I here for? Okay? So, and then, being strongly rooted, as Siging said, makes us unshakable. So we're going to ask our heart, what is it that makes us unshakable? What is that unshakable force that lives in every human being? Huh? We're going to talk about that for a little bit. No? It's not an us versus them thing. Every human being has an unshakable purpose. Some of us are just, better at expressing it, I guess. No? So, yeah. So now, if everyone is ready, perhaps we can just give a quick thumbs up or like maybe like a heart emoji, however you want to do it, to just signal to me if you're all ready to, just kind of take part in this. No? This is just going to be, I'm just giving you a chance, no, to kind of take it all in. No? That's really the whole point of, this session and my work in general. It's giving people a chance to take life in because you don't have enough time. So, sige, let's do it now. All right. So I'd like you all to just, number 1, find your most comfortable spot. You want to stand? Want to lie down? You want to just take off the video, maybe sit down on your bed or something or on the floor. I like it on the floor. Just find your most comfortable spot. All right. And then get comfortable. All right. Get comfortable, and then, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm very, very, very sorry. Wait, what do I go back there? Oopsies, I'm so sorry. All right. Get comfortable, and I'd like you all now to find your most comfortable spot, breathe deeply, and at your own pace. I'd like you all now to just find the breath that makes most sense to you, and then just like to follow that breath. If breathing deeply makes sense to you, do it. If breathing shallowly makes sense to you, do it. Breathe as your body needs. Right? Just take a deep breath and get comfortable. And now, as you're breathing, I'd like you to bring your attention to your body. Right? Just kind of quick scan of how your head, shoulders, knees, and toes are doing. Right? From your head up to your toes, how are you feeling now? Just pay attention to how you're feeling. What's going on? Is it tense? Is it loose? Huh? Are you fidgety? Do you want to move? Do you want to sit still? We're not here to change what your body wants to do. We're just teaching you to pay attention. So pay attention to that and just breathe, huh? And keep breathing. Now, I want you to bring your attention now to your chest, right? So from your body, from your heads to your toes, now want to bring your focus to your chest area. Just take it all in, how it feels. Take in what your chest feels like, what the insides feel like, what the area around it feels like. Is it tense? Is it cold? Is it warm? Does it feel sharp? Does it feel smooth? Just pay attention to how it feels, right? You might even see images or shapes, right? Whatever it might be, just bring your attention there. No, we're not here to change anything. We're just here to listen. And now that you're there now in your chest, now bring that to your heart. So you're now the chest. Now focus in on that place that we call the heart, that cavity somewhere to the right-hand side of your chest. Bring your attention there and then breathe. Just take deep breaths. Take very, very deep breaths. And just stay there for a moment, no? Focus on the heart and watch it. Watch your heart. Watch out for the feelings, the sensations. Watch out for the colors even, right? Watch out for how it responds to the rest of the body. Watch out to what it does to the rest of the body. Watch your heart. Pay attention as you're taking your deep breath, as you're getting comfortable, as you're breathing deeply, as you're bringing attention to nothing else except what's going on here, your body, and just focus, bring your focus back to the heart, huh? To the seat of wisdom, as we call it. Just pay attention, breathe. Feel free to talk to your heart if you'd like, not quietly perhaps. But at the end of the day, you're not there to change anything. You're not there to kind of adjust. Uh, This is not a log frame. This is not an Excel sheet. This is your heart. And yet the job of every human life is to make sure the heart is paid attention to. So focus and watch. What does it say? What is it doing? What colors come out? When you focus on the heart, how else does your body feel, right? What radiates outward? What goes in? No? The heart pumps blood, right? But it's pumping more than just blood. It's pumping life. It's circulating. It understands. The heart understands the whole body. So pay attention because it has something to teach you. And once you're paying attention to that, once you have a sense of, oh, I've focused on the heart now. I can see you, heart. I see. Once you're there, I'd like you now to just have a conversation with it just for a little bit. Now, I'm just going to transfer my device for just a moment. But as I'm transferring, as I leave the space for quick 2 minutes, I'm going to come back. But in that space, I want you to ask your heart now, what am I here for? What am I doing here? Oh, dear heart, the seat of wisdom, the seat of life, not just in my tradition, but in the tradition of my family, my community, my world. Dear heart, what am I here for? What am I doing? Why am I doing what I'm doing? And as you ask these questions, ask it whatever you want. Just bring that in that sense of purpose and just lean into that insight. Pay attention. You know how when we're deep in thought or like, in a wonderful relationship with a friend or spouse, whatever, we lean in, right? And we're kind of just resting our head on their chest. That's the natural impulse to listen into the heart, right? We're listening into our hearts. So I want you to do that for yourself as well. I want you to just breathe, you know. Your attention is now just on yourself and nothing else. Take a deep breath and just lean into your heart. Rest on your heart for a moment. Focus on it and nothing else. And just listen to what it has to say to this wonderful question of why are we here? And I'm going to leave you there. Stay with that question. Stay with that thought for a moment. Give yourself a minute or two to focus. It's shocking how long a minute can be. And I'll be back. But don't mind me. Mind the heart. That's much more. And I will see you all in a minute.
Welcome back, everyone. No? So now I am leading you back out. So now that you've leaned into your heart and paid just a quick attention to it, no? A minute is not a lot of time, but it's also a lot of time. No? Time dilates in a strange way when we're paying attention to our bodies. No? So as we say thank you to our bodies, we're going to lean back. No? We will say our graces, say our thanks, and as we leave the space of our heart just for a moment, we're taking our deep breaths, making ourselves feel comfortable, and bringing our attention back to our bodies. We're radiating outward now from the heart, and from the heart, we're feeling our chest, and that's expanding. Now we can feel our shoulders, our arms, our waist, our legs, our head, and as we're moving back into awareness of where we are, no? From ourselves to our circumstances, we're coming back now, but we're still very comfortable and taking our deep breaths. No? And as we say thank you again, one last time to our heart, for now, we open our eyes and return our awareness to this time. No? Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back. So, what was the point of that session? No? So, for one thing, I did have to switch devices because my laptop ran out of battery. Um, I'm not a techie person, but those little details that are unexpected were also an opportunity as well, because that is part of what we have to do. Now we have to tune out every once in a while. To really tune in, we have to tune out. So I hope that you were able to tune in to what your heart had to say and to kind of get a sense of, yeah, this is why I'm doing it. This is why I am doing whatever it is that I'm doing, right? And we have just 5 minutes left with us today. And I'd like to invite anyone to just share, maybe over chat, no? To just share what exactly is it that came up as you were listening in to your heart. So feel free to use the chat box. I'm looking now at the chat box here, and I'm just waiting to see if anyone, no, has anything to say. But it's also okay, no, to not have anything to say, because funny thing about purpose, funny thing about life, there are just some things that have to remain a secret. There are just some things that you cannot articulate even if you wanted to. And that's perfectly fine. That's just how life is. There are things which are knowable, things which you can share with others, your friends, your colleagues, to yourself even. But then there are things that are felt but not knowable in the traditional sense. And we have to also respect that. No? We have to respect that our purpose might not always be understood by people. We have to respect that our purpose might lead us in directions that seem strange or even counterintuitive. It might even seem, um, how do you say this? It might even seem to conflict to either the work that you're doing, the so-called principles you might be aspiring to, and all of that. No? So it might seem counterintuitive even. But to be very frank now, in my experience, it's a good rule of thumb to trust in what the heart has to say. Not the reaction, no, not the impulses, but when you're able to exercise that deep awareness, no, really taking stock of where you are as a person, your body, how everything's moving, and then really focusing in on the heart, that's when the signal becomes clearer. So people have also shared here, no? So I'm gonna read that. Thank you so much, Steph. Let me know if I pronounce your name correctly. You were diagnosed with chronic cardiovascular illness, and it makes you feel faint when your heart rate goes up. And that is a metaphor for what I think my heart is telling me today. I need to not do more than I actually can, so that I stay conscious of what I can actually do. That is gorgeous. I mean, I'm sorry about your current illness, your current suffering, but in our work as well, no, with people who suffer from chronic and even terminal illnesses, no, in our psychological work there, that is exactly the kind of insight that human beings are meant to draw from their illnesses, to really take stock of what you can and cannot do and what you should or should not do, right? Another person said, I learned that my heart needs more attention. Oh, I love that. Yes, your heart always needs more attention. I'm not saying that because we're clingy, we didn't get paid enough attention as a kid or whatever. No, it's just the heart, like any part of the body, needs that attention. Another person said, my heart wants to be compassionate instead of critical. Oh, I love that. My heart would rather be hurt and powerless and not care at all. That is beautiful. And that's a really interesting line to draw, right? For all of us, no? Because not caring is safe. It can feel secure. It can feel like our point of rest. But to not care is actually the opposite of love. It's not hate, right? So that's an interesting insight to have as well. So, oh, I love that also. Our purpose is connected with others. Yes, our purpose is connected with others. No? Even if it's not always knowable to people, not always understandable to others, it's always connected. That's just how we evolved. That's just how we were, I guess, if you want to use it, if you want to use this language, created. No? That's how we were evolved to do. We were evolved to share, to be affectionate, to interact. And it does feel amazing, no? It does feel pretty amazing. I love what everyone else is saying, no? Um, you know, very agitated and it's tiring and you're getting old, but you want to be able to accomplish this while you still have time. That sense of urgency as well. Your heart might also be telling you something about that, no? So I want to be able to leave you all, no, with those insights. I've been asked, no, to kind of bring this session to a close. It's no problem. Don't say sorry. This is really how it works, no. And hopefully there'll be more time, no, to do this together or on your own. But what I'd like to finally leave you all is this, no. When you're able to pay attention to your heart, you're actually able to pay even more attention to everything else going on around you. That was very interesting, no. I take that as a sign, actually. No, for those of you who believe in divine providence, like the in Jungian psychology we call it synchronicity. No, when something kind of weird or major happens as we're about to say something, that means you should pay attention. No, and that might seem like hocus pocus, but I've learned, the last couple of years of life to kind of trust that. No, so trust in those synchronicities. There are no coincidences, and try to follow or like listen in as best you can. No? And I'd like to thank you all again for allowing me to share this time with you. And now I will say thank you. I bid you adieu. And I'd like now to bring your attention back to our other facilitator, Ellie. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you so much, Jan. I've got so many positive comments in chat. I hope you read them. It was such a great space. Thank you for providing this space. I think it was much, much needed amongst advocates to really tune in with ourselves. It sounds easy, but we really need to have put effort to actually do it. So thank you for providing that space.